This is part 4 of the Chapter 20 lecture notes. I apologize, I have a cold, so I'm going to try to get through this last part pretty quickly, just so that you can have some explanation of the slides. So, um, horizontal gene transfer in eukaryotes is rare, but there are some examples listed here. There's no study guide questions about these, so I'm going to let you read them on your own. They're just different examples of horizontal gene transfer in eukaryotes. So I'm going to move on to this because there are some questions about the endosymbiotic theory. So this is the theory of how eukaryotic cells originated. Well, there are several theories, but one is that we know that eukaryotic cells are different from prokaryotic because they have a nucleus and they have membrane-bound organelles. Specifically, they have an organelle called mitochondria that carries out cellular respiration. And if it is a cell that contains a chloroplast, it's capable of photosynthesis as well. So cells with chloroplast will also have mitochondria. So there is a theory that the mitochondria and chloroplast actually originated by the engulfment of a prokaryotic cell by a proto-eukaryotic cell. So like a precursor to a eukaryotic cell, a blank cell, if you can think of one that way, maybe a cell that had a nucleus engulfed bacteria. And this is the reason this is not seen as just completely off the wall is it's viewed as very possible to have happened is because mitochondria and chloroplast, when you analyze them, their size, their chemical composition, the fact that they have their own DNA, they are very similar in structure and function to certain bacteria. So it is very possible that a precursor to today's eukaryotic cells engulfed mitochondria and chloroplast and began living symbiotically with them, engulfed bacteria that lived symbiotically with them and then evolved over time into just cell organelles. Another proposed theory is that gram-negative bacteria, which have two membranes like mitochondria and chloroplast, resulted from a fusion of an archaea and a gram-positive bacteria. So that's not anything to do with the eukaryotic origin. That's the origin of gram-negative bacteria. But anyway, the main thing is that that's sort of like putting a different topic on the same slide. I just want to make sure that you understand the endosymbiotic theory just states that a cell engulfed bacteria that were similar in structure and function to mitochondria and chloroplast. And then over time, they just, instead of living symbiotically with that cell, they became part of it. And that's how our eukaryotic cells of today came about. And this diagram shows you how this could have happened. Of course, we believe the first cells, the evidence we have is that the very first cell was a prokaryotic cell, which had a nucleoid region but no membrane surrounding the DNA. So step one, the prokaryotic cell grows in size. This has to happen by evolution and develops infoldings in its plasma membrane to increase its surface area to volume ratio, because it would have to have an increased surface area to volume ratio in order to survive. And then the endomembrane system developed from this. A nuclear membrane formed, an endoplasmic reticulum Golgi apparatus, or other organelles formed possibly by engulfing smaller prokaryotes. But these membranes started out as infoldings and then formed into those same membranes formed into the membranes that surround the organelles that we've learned about, such as um, the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, the lysosomes, vacuoles, vesicles, peroxisomes, all of the different organelles that we've learned. And then this shows how mitochondria could have resulted from a symbiotic relationship between a bacterium that had been phagocytized, that had been engulfed by one of these early eukaryotic cells that didn't have mitochondria yet. We call them proto-eukaryotic cells. And it also shows how a cyanobacterium, which is a photosynthetic bacterium, could have been engulfed by one of these cells, and then it could have evolved into a photosynthetic eukaryotic cell, which would have led to plants, algae in plants. This is a model, a web of life model that shows interconnections. And then the ring of life model, there is a study guide question on this. This is the ring of life model that says that all living things arose from a single prokaryotic cell, and then that became a pool, a group or a pool of primitive prokaryotic cells. And those primitive prokaryotic cells either evolved into bacteria, archaea, or eukarya. And that is the ring of life model. And these are just models. We still have research to do. We do not know. The hard thing is that we just weren't here. You know, we can't experiment on the past. We can do experiments in the present to see what was likely to have happened in the past. But that's what makes it hard, is that, you know, we just weren't here then. Um, so anyway, that's it for this chapter. Let me know if you have any questions.